The day my husband died. The world didn't scream, it just went silent. The kind of silence that presses on your chest and makes even breathing feel like a crime. I buried the only man who ever held my hand through storms. And when I came back home that night, the house was no longer mine. It was a graveyard of echoes. His chair by the window still warm. His Bible left open on the table, his coffee cup half full. As if time had refused to move forward with me. Grief isn't a flood. It doesn't crash into you all at once. No. It seeps in slowly, like fog through a cracked door. It moves into your closets, your teacups, your photographs. It whispers in your ear at 3 a.m., asking, "Why are you still here when he is not?" But I told myself one thing, at least my son will stand by me. He was all I had left, and for a while, he did. He brought me groceries, sat with me at the table, poured me coffee the way his father used to. He said, "Mama, I've got you." And I believed him. Oh, I believed him. But what I didn't know then was that those words weren't a promise. They were a rehearsal, because while I was clinging to his love, he was already planning something else, something no mother should ever have to survive. People think depression comes with loud sobbing, broken dishes, or wild storms in the night. No, depression is quieter than that. It's the sound of a clock ticking in an empty kitchen. It's the weight of a blanket you can't pull off in the morning. It's looking at a plate of food and feeling like chewing is too much work. After my husband passed, the house that once rang with laughter turned into a museum of shadows. I would walk past his coat still hanging by the door, touch it, breathe it in, and then collapse in my chair, wishing God had taken me to. I stopped cooking real meals, soup from a can, toast, if I remembered. Some days, I didn't remember. Nights were the worst. The bed was too big, the air too heavy. I stared at the ceiling until the cracks began to look like maps of every regret I ever had. And in those long hours, one thought came back over and over: at least I have Jason, my son, my only child. Surely, he would step in where his father left off. Surely, he would carry me through this storm. At first, he did. Or, at least, he pretended. He called every evening, stopped by with his wife, Danielle. They brought flowers once, soup another time. They patted my hand and said, "You need rest. Mama, you've been through too much." I thought it was love. I thought it was care. But now, looking back, I realize those weren't acts of compassion. They were steps. Steps in a plan I didn't see coming. You see, depression doesn't just make you sad. It makes you vulnerable, blind. And while I was drowning in silence, my son was already measuring the weight of my absence. My loneliness wasn't just my prison. It was his opportunity. One Tuesday morning, I fainted in the kitchen. My knees buckled, the spoon slipped from my hand, and I hit the cold tile before I even realized what happened. I told myself it was nothing, low sugar, exhaustion. But by that evening, Jason and Danielle were standing at my door, faces full of concern. Too much concern. Jason said, "Mama, we just want what's best for you." Danielle nodded like a doll beside him. I thought my son was worried. I didn't see the truth hiding behind his smile. They started talking about settling my affairs. That's what Jason called it. Like I was already halfway gone. He offered to take over the bills. Danielle suggested I sign a few papers to make life easier. I didn't question it. Because who questions their own blood? I thought they were helping me heal. I thought they were protecting me. I didn't know they were stripping me piece by piece, until there was nothing left. A week later, they invited me to lunch. Just the three of us. They smiled, they laughed, they told me I deserved a break. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't bring my phone charger. I didn't even wear my good shoes. Why would I? I trusted them. I trusted my son. But instead of a restaurant, they drove me to a building with beige walls and plastic flowers. A place that smelled like bleach and sorrow. Jason said softly, "Just a few days, Mama. Rest up. The nurse will take care of you." Then he hugged me. Danielle kissed my cheek. And then, they walked away. They left me in that room with no pictures, no books, no familiar pillow. Just a single dresser and a bed I did not choose. I asked for a phone. The nurse said, only during visiting hours. I asked for my son. She looked at me like I was lost. And then she showed me the papers. My name, his signature. All the boxes checked. Residential admission. Observation status. Long-term placement. He had signed me away. Not for a day. Not for a week. But forever. My son, the boy I raised with hands that bled. The boy I starved for so he could eat. The boy I gave my wedding ring to pawn so he could graduate. Looked at me and saw a burden. Not a mother. Not a woman. Just dead weight. And in one moment, he buried me alive. The first 3 nights in that nursing home, I barely slept. I sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded, rocking like a lost child. Every creak in the hallway sounded like chains. Every fluorescent light buzzing like a reminder. You don't belong here. And maybe I didn't. But I also didn't belong in a grave. Not yet. On the 4th morning, a knock came at my door. It wasn't Jason. It wasn't Danielle. It was a little girl, my granddaughter. She slipped into the room with crayon drawings clutched in her hands. Big, messy hearts. A crooked sun. Stick figures holding hands. She climbed onto my lap, hugged me, and whispered, "You can't give up, Grandma. You still have me." I broke then, not from despair, but from love. Tears poured down my cheeks as she taped those drawings on the pale beige walls. And suddenly, that cold, lifeless room had color, hope, a pulse. That child's love did what no medicine could, reminded me I wasn't gone yet. I still mattered. I still had a fight left. That night, when the nurse asked if I needed anything, I didn't ask for sleeping pills. I asked for a pen and a notebook. She thought I wanted to journal. But I wasn't writing poems. I was writing a battle plan. Dates, names, bank accounts, every memory that mattered. I wasn't senile. I wasn't confused. I wasn't dead. My son thought he had buried me, but I was already digging my way back. The next days, I prayed harder than ever before. I prayed not just for strength, but for clarity. I sat with my Bible. I whispered to my husband's memory. And I realized God didn't keep me alive to fade away. He kept me alive to stand up, not just for myself, but for every elder who's ever been silenced, erased, discarded. And so, I started to walk again. Weak at first, my legs shaking like twigs in the wind. But each step reminded me was still here. The nurses clapped when I walked the hallway. My granddaughter held my hand. And for the first time since my husband died, I felt alive. Broken, yes. Betrayed, yes. But breathing. And with every breath, I promised myself one thing. Jason would regret underestimating me. The day came when I finally stood tall again. My cane in one hand, my granddaughter's little fingers in the other. The nurses lined the hallway, clapping, cheering. To them it was just recovery. But to me, it was resurrection. Every step I took was a nail pulled out of the coffin my son had built for me. He thought he buried me, but God planted me. And I was blooming again. Jason never came back. Weeks turned into months, and the phone stayed silent. Not one call, not one visit. And maybe that should have broken me further. But instead, it freed me. Because I realized something powerful. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the nurse who brings you a cup of tea after hours. Sometimes it's a granddaughter's crayon drawing taped to your wall. Sometimes it's the neighbor who checks in. Or the stranger who smiles when you walk by. Love doesn't always come from where you expect it, but it always comes. Yes, I lost a husband. Yes, I was betrayed by my own son. But what I didn't lose was my will to live. Depression told me I was worthless. Betrayal told me I was forgotten. But hope told me I was still breathing, still fighting, still worthy. And hope was right. So, to anyone listening right now who feels abandoned, broken, left behind, hear me. You are not a burden. You are not invisible. Your story is not over just because someone else stopped reading it. Don't let their silence define your ending. Stand up, pray harder, write down your truth. And when the world thinks you're finished, prove that you're just getting started. My son may never understand what he threw away, but that's not my weight to carry anymore. My peace is louder than his absence. My love is stronger than his betrayal. And my life is mine again. I survived my husband's death. I survived depression, and I survived my son's abandonment. And I am still here, still breathing, still unshakable.